I'm going to say it. Meghan Markle is not a good friend. Her friendship with her longtime makeup artist, Daniel Martin, it might look loyal on the surface, but the dynamics tell a different story. He's been by her side for years, featured on her show, praised her publicly, defended her online. But recently, Daniel posted a video about doing her makeup for Paris Fashion Week and then suddenly deleted it. According to reports, the post vanished because he didn't mention all of the approved beauty products. And that right there, that's not friendship, that's image management. In narcissistic relationships, access equals privilege, but it's always conditional. Every interaction becomes a quiet loyalty test. You're celebrated when you play your role and corrected when you don't. And there is a classic pattern here. It all starts with idealization. You're amazing, they say. Then there's maintenance. You get the feeling that you know that there are expectations placed on you. There's devaluation, where you hear about how you've disappointed them. And finally, replacement, where they have a next favorite. If you've ever felt like you have to manage someone's mood just to stay close, that's not love, it's control. Because real friends don't delete you when you stop performing. Let's get into all this and more, but before we begin, here's the intro. Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. The article I want to read through today was in the Daily Mail, and it's titled "The Very Telling Video That Suggests One of Meghan's Closest Confidants Has Been Markled. He once leapt to her defense. Now, like so many others, he needs to watch his step." It was written by Richard Eden and published on October 16. Before we continue, I just want to pause here. I think we have a different definition of Markle than what is being talked about in this article. When we say Markled, we're talking about anyone that has some type of business relationship with Meghan. And once they hold or once they come out in support of Meghan, their business flops. And it has to do with Meghan not being very likable. The way that Richard appears is using this verb being markled. Is a verb? Yeah, I would say it's a verb, right? Is it an adverb? You won't let me know in the comments. But essentially, he's saying that they got discarded. And yes, that is something that Meghan does. Meghan discards her friends and she has a trail of ended relationships where she's ghosted people and dumped people just on her path. The article begins. Daniel Martin has become such a good friend of the Duchess of Sussex that he made repeated appearances on her lifestyle show With Love Meghan. It has left some critics bemused. So I do want to say that when I was watching With Love Meghan, the season one, episode one, that's the one I remember that Daniel was in. I actually liked his personality. He seemed sweet and easygoing, and honestly, maybe too much under Meghan's spell, I felt. This article actually strengthened my view about that, and we'll get to that in a minute. Now, Martin, 52, has discovered that however close you are to the American former actress and however much you lavish praise on her domestic skills on camera, you are never far from disaster. Last week, he posted a video on social media about his trip to France with Meghan. In it, he explained how he had achieved her look for the Balenciaga show at Paris Fashion Week, which the Duchess had asked to attend in support of the brand's latest creative director. Martin claimed that his work had made her look even more juicy and glowy. Let's pause here. Unfortunately, I have not seen this video and I haven't been able to access that video. If I'm able to get it while I'm editing this video before publishing it on YouTube, I will put that here.
I did my usual skin prep with her, which was a lot of Tatcha. And I'm not saying that because I'm with the brand, but it's a skincare ritual that has been in my kit and I use on all my clients for years. I actually mixed the Tatcha Longevity Serum in with the foundation, and I think that added another layer of radiance to her makeup that just made her look even more juicy and glowy.
I also want to mention, I'm sure many of you know that Martin was also the one who did Meghan's wedding. Oh my gosh, I'm stumbling over my words. Meghan's makeup for her wedding. However, earlier this week, Martin deleted the post, leading to speculation that the Duchess may not have been best pleased with what he had said. Martin's spokesman declined to comment, but a source close to Meghan told me on Monday that Martin had removed the video because he had failed to refer to all of the beauty products used on the trip. What this suggests to me is clearly this was a merging opportunity, right? That the makeup that was used on Meghan was a paid endorsement. Is that one way to say it? And he accidentally omitted to talk about one of them. My thought when I first read this was I thought that maybe Daniel did this on his own, not at a directive from Meghan. But after reading this article, I realized that who is the one that's probably getting the money for the endorsement? Who's the one that's invested in making sure that all of the products are showcased? And I believe, in my opinion, that that is Meghan. Even if Martin does eventually share an updated video, he will have learned a valuable lesson that friendship with Meghan involves doing what the Duchess wants, or as her husband Prince Harry is said to have once put it to Angela Kelly, the dresser to his grandmother Queen Elizabeth, what Meghan wants, Meghan gets. The article then describes that he has been friends with Meghan since he did her makeup on the television drama Suits. So we're talking an over decades long friendship, and I'm using the term friendship very loosely here. Let's continue the article. It says, and he has become one of her most outspoken defenders, taking to social media to attack her critics in the most personal way after the first series of With Love Meghan was broadcast. One Instagram user, Maria Sampson, a London based fashion design student, commented on an article about the first episode in which Meghan prepared bath salts for Martin's stay at her home. It's got to the point where you just have to laugh now, Sampson remarked. At this, Martin, who did Meghan's makeup before her royal wedding, took grave offense. In response, he mocked Miss Sampson's fashion designs, which she displays on her Instagram page. Like your designs, he jeered, adding that Miss Sampson didn't have the status to dare comment on Meghan's handiwork. Don't come for my friend without receipts, he warned melodramatically. Okay, let's pause here. This is one of the things I really try to wrap my mind around, this type of loyalty that is inspired with people that are around these narcissists. It's complete blind loyalty, and they're incredibly sensitive to the criticism that the narcissist receives. All the Instagram user said was that you just have to laugh about it now. And this man, Daniel Martin, just came for her artistic endeavors. And what does it mean? Don't come for my friend without receipts. What receipts do you need to say that you don't like something? Just because you criticize someone doesn't mean you're coming for them. There's this incredible sensitivity to things that are said about Meghan. And it's not just Daniel that has it, it's all of the Sussex squad. They take criticism as someone being hateful. They give ad hominem attacks to people that mention anything about Meghan. An ad hominem attack is a logical fallacy, meaning that it's not a real argument, it's a distraction. So instead of addressing your point, the person attacks you as a way to discredit what you're saying. So they'll say things like, you're jealous, you sound bitter, who hurt you? Or you're upset. All of these, and worse, we've heard worse from the Sussex squad when we criticize Meghan. None of these are used to respond to the argument. They're designed to make you the issue so the narcissist or their defender doesn't have to engage with the uncomfortable truth that you've exposed. People with narcissistic traits and the enablers that orbit them, they rely on image control and emotional deflection. When you call out manipulative behavior, it threatens the narrative that they've built. So rather than engage with you, they switch to character assassination. And it works for them, number one, because it recenters control. If they can get you to defend yourself instead of your argument, they've regained psychological dominance. Number two, it protects the illusion. Narcissists attract supporters who are emotionally invested in the hero victim image they project. When you challenge that image, those supporters experience cognitive dissonance. It's easier to attack you than to admit that their idol isn't who they thought. Number three, it threatens tribal loyalty. Narcissistic fan bases, like toxic fandoms or flying monkeys in personal life, they often use ad hominem attacks as social bonding. It's less about you and more about reinforcing their shared identity. We're the good ones. You're the problem. That is what they're saying. And finally, number four, it derails accountability. A narcissist's worst fear is exposure. Personal attacks scatter attention so that the actual issue, the manipulation, the contradiction, or deceit fades into the noise. Here are some tips on how to recognize and handle it. To recognize if their reply is about you instead of the topic, it's an ad hominem. Don't defend yourself, redirect. Instead of saying, I'm not bitter, say, that's not the point. Let's talk about the behavior. Stay calm. Their goal is to provoke emotion, so you look reactive. Staying composed keeps the control where it belongs, with you. Remember, projection and deflection are the narcissist's favorite weapons because they protect their illusion. Let's continue the article. It says on Meta's threads, he responded to a random question about who is responsible for the music used in With Love Meghan. It's all Meghan, Martin declared. She's the superstar DJ. So let's pause really quick. So you can see that they elevate, or okay, let's say Daniel Martin in this instance has elevated Meghan to the point of perfection. Everything she does is right. She just chose a couple of tracks and she's a superstar DJ. I want to call it toxic loyalty. And I looked into this a little bit, and that is something that is a phrase actually that exists. It's when someone uses devotion to a person, group, or cause, they become blind. They defend the individual no matter what, even at the expense of truth, ethics, or their own integrity. It's loyalty based on fear, identity, or dependency, and is not genuine respect. In narcissistic systems, whether that's a personal relationship or a fandom, it shows up as ignoring evidence of harm, silencing or smearing critics, excusing contradictory behavior, attacking anyone who breaks the illusion. So when narc supporters come after you with ad hominem attacks, this is toxic loyalty in action. They're protecting the narcissist's image and not the truth. Their loyalty is completely performative. It's not about logic, it's about belonging. They fuse their identity to the narcissist narrative. So if you question the narrative, they feel personally attacked. So when they lash out with insults or labels like jealous, obsessed, or crazy, you're witnessing toxic loyalty protecting fragile illusion. It's not really about you, it's about preserving their emotional investment in someone they need to see as good, powerful, or victimized. The article continues. Martin is not the first person to apparently incur Meghan's displeasure. Of course, as former best friend Jessica Mulroney knows too well. As the daughter-in-law of Canada's former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, Jessica had the connections to introduce ambitious Meghan to the country's high society. The actress was living in Toronto, where Suits was filmed at the time. So we have all heard this story about the falling out of the friendship between Jessica and Meghan. And I don't want to go into the details about what caused it, but what I do want to point out is how Meghan showed the world how close she is to Jessica, how close she was during the wedding planning, and she was a maid of honor, how in her early years as a working royal, early years, in her very short time as a working royal, she would take Jessica with her on international trips as a support system, she would say. I mean, Meghan bullied a child allegedly in front of Jessica, and Jessica did not say anything. So that's an example of toxic loyalty, I would say. As soon as Jessica did something that Meghan didn't want to be associated with, didn't want to talk, all of that friendship, all of that years, it's just dumped without a thought. I think when you're witness to so many friends being dumped, you walk on eggshells. And I'll give an example of this in a professional way, but that's completely related. I used to work for a company that when I first started with them, they were very small and they grew a lot in the first couple of years that I was with them. But then there were financial problems that came up. I want to say that every pay period, at least one person was laid off. It's not firing, it was just there weren't finances to cover them, so they were laid off. So what happens? Everybody starts walking on eggshells. There's an environment that's created where you don't want to stand out as not doing well enough. So, there's a lot of blaming that happens. There's a lot of camaraderie that's broken because you don't know who's next and you're walking on eggshells. And I want to say that this is probably how friends that have this toxic loyalty towards Meghan, how they feel. They don't want to be the next one to be cut. And this is actually how the article ends. It says, mild mannered Martin is most unlikely ever to have seemingly upset Meghan, but he clearly needs to watch his step if he is to avoid further antagonizing his most prominent friend and client. What a life that is to live. Someone you call a dear friend, and you're so scared to say the wrong thing or to do the wrong thing. It's incredible pressure. So, to summarize what we've read, Daniel Martin's story reads like a masterclass in proximity, praise, and punishment. He's portrayed as the loyal friend, the insider who benefits from being close to Meghan, but only as long as he stays perfectly aligned with her image. He praises her, he defends her, and publicly promotes her work. But the second he misses a detail, like forgetting to mention an approved product, the post disappears. That's how narcissistic hierarchies tend to work. Access equals privilege, but that access is conditional. Every public interaction becomes a quiet loyalty test. Then there's his behavior on social media. When someone criticizes Meghan, Daniel rushes to defend her with that sharp, self righteous tone. Don't come from my friend without receipts. It's a glimpse into how enablers internalize the narcissist worldview. They start mirroring the same energy, defensiveness, condescending, and performative, because in their world, defending the narcissist also defends their own position. That's emotional contagion in action. Over time, their language, tone, and values start to reflect the narcissist's need for control and superiority. To summarize all of this article is unintentionally capturing the full narcissistic arc. There's the idealization stage, the best friend, trusted confidant, inner circle access. There's maintenance, where there's loyalty tests that are happening, public praise and social performance, devaluation, which comes with criticism, erasure, and image correction. And finally, replacement. The next favorite friend is elevated until their usefulness fades too. This is not about friendship, and it's about function. What I want to do now is go through these stages and talk about how the mention of Daniel in this article, it supports this step in the narcissistic arc. The first one is idealization. At first, the narcissist showers the person with attention and praise. They'll say things like, you get me like no one else, or you're the one I can trust. The new friend or colleague feels chosen and special. In Meghan and Daniel's case, this might have been when she elevated him publicly, featured him on her show, and gave him visibility. It feels like genuine friendship, but it's really about utility and image. Daniel Martin is being portrayed as a favorite insider, one of Meghan's closest friends and confidants. And we know that because we've seen him repeatedly on With Love Meghan. He did her makeup, and he was part of her inner circle and defends her online. This is the special phase. He's elevated, included, and rewarded with proximity and visibility. Then there's maintenance. Once loyalty is established, the narcissist begins to set unspoken rules: how to speak about them, what tone to use, and how much admiration is required. The relationship turns into conditional closeness. Affection and access are tied to how well the person maintains the narcissist's image. You're rewarded when you perform correctly, ignored or punished when you don't. When Danielle posted a video about doing her makeup for Paris Fashion Week, he didn't credit every product that was used. And as a result, the video was deleted. It implies that there are rules for how her image and her brand must be presented. That's classic maintenance. Loyalty and correctness are tied to continued access. He's expected to follow the brand script perfectly. Then we see the devaluation. Eventually, the friend or ally slips up, says something the narcissist perceives as disloyal, forgets to praise them properly, or outshines them. The response is often withdrawal or humiliation. They might distance themselves publicly, make cutting remarks, or allow others to mock. This stage reestablishes the narcissist's dominance. It's like they're saying, I decide who matters. This article hints at devaluation in two different ways. The first is the deletion of his post. This is a subtle public punishment and withdrawal of approval. Meghan was allegedly, the implication of this deletion is that Daniel did it because of displeasure from Meghan. We're also seeing that there's media ridicule, in this article. In the beginning of the article, which I didn't include in this video, the journalist mocks Daniel a little bit, and it implies that his association with Meghan makes her foolish. Now, even if Meghan didn't personally mock Daniel in this video, this shift in tone around him shows that his status has dropped. It's a hallmark of the devaluation stage. To reinforce control, the narcissist often brings in someone new, a fresh source of admiration. This both punishes the old ally and reinflates their ego. The previous favorite is quietly erased while the new one is idealized until they eventually fall out of line too. Now, this article doesn't name a direct replacement, but it references Megan's pattern of shifting alliances. So, this is a subtle foreshadowing of how the cycle tends to end through quiet replacement and not open closure. All of this matters because it's not friendship in the healthy sense. It's a transactional loop built on power and image. You can stay in it only as long as you meet the narcissist's unspoken expectations. That's why people close to them often say things like, I never know where I stand, or I feel like I'm always trying not to upset them. So, if you start seeing this pattern in your life, the praise, the control, then the quiet punishment, here are a few ways to ground yourself before getting pulled back in. Notice the cycle, not the apology. If every makeup moment feels like a performance, a show, a gesture, or a charm reset, instead of an honest conversation, you're in the loop. Watch for conditional closeness. If you feel like you're walking on eggshells or that approval depends on how well you play your part, that's not friendship, that's management. Don't chase clarity from someone who benefits from confusion. Narcissists thrive in blurred lines. The more you try to make sense of their contradictions, the more power they gain. Protect your peace, not the pattern. Distance is data. If you pull back and they instantly charm or guilt trip you, you've just confirmed exactly what kind of dynamic you're dealing with. Real friendships feel safe to get messy. Narcissistic ones punish you for being human. And when you look at this article, it's more than just gossip. It's practically a textbook example of how narcissistic relationship dynamics play out. Daniel Martin's story reads like a masterclass in proximity, praise, and punishment. He's the loyal friend who benefits from access, but only as long as he stays perfectly aligned with her image. The second he misses a detail, like forgetting to mention the approved products, the post disappears. That's how narcissistic hierarchies work. Access equals privilege, but that access is always conditional. And even online, you can see the emotional spillover. When someone criticizes her, Daniel jumps to defend her. Sharp tone, receipts, superiority. It's that emotional contagion that happens when someone starts mirroring a narcissist worldview. They start speaking their language. When you pull back, this article actually fully captures the narcissistic arc, the idealization, the maintenance, the devaluation, and finally the replacement or the discard. The last line in this article says it all. Daniel needs to watch his step if he's to avoid further antagonizing his most prominent friend and client. That's not friendship, that's compliance. And that's what makes this story such a perfect case study of how power, image, and control replace genuine connection in narcissistic dynamics. I want to thank you all so much for listening. I'm curious to know what you all feel about this. If you feel comfortable sharing your story, please do so in the comments. Thank you again, everybody, for listening. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll know every time I drop a new video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you're looking for a meaningful way to support something beyond the screen, I'd love for you to consider making a donation to the National Domestic Violence Hotline in lieu of super chats and super stickers. They provide 24/7 support and resources for people in unsafe or overwhelming situations, whether that's emotional, physical, or just hard to name. Their information is on the screen should you need to contact them, and you'll find the link to donate in the description of this video. Every little bit helps, and it means a lot. Thank you again for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.